Recently, we took a look at 10 LEGO Ninjago villains and ranked them from the good to the bad to the ugly, giving out points for threat level, personality, and most importantly, appearance, because we all know looks mean everything. So today, we're going to do that again with 10 more Ninjago villains, including some legendary characters like Morrow, Nadakhan, and the Overlord. And stick around until the end to find out the winner of last month's comment competition. So without further ado, let's go! So the first Ninjago antagonist we will be discussing today is Nadakhan from Season 6, though I just realised this guy has no pants on, so he's more like naked Khan. He is orange like all of the other Jinn, and has this weird tall hairpiece, which I imagine if it was green, would make him look shockingly similar to a carrot. And he is also a lot taller than standard minifigures, so he'd make a great basketball player. But he can float anyway, so that's kind of a meaningless point. So I'm going to give him 4 out of 5 points for appearance. And for personality, he is a little bit of a wacky character, but with a mostly serious attitude and a heavy accent that I want to say is Russian, but of course there's no Russia in Ninjago, is there? So I guess it's a Jin jargon accent. His whole overall personality is just kind of nefarious. He'll manipulate people to get them to bend to his will and twist people's wishes, but he's not a complete psycho like Mr. Snake Killer, War Starter and Fraud Master Chen. I mean, at least Nadakhan cares about his crew and his dead wife and father and kingdom. Compare him to Chen, who I think really doesn't care about his crew, and Kalmar, who killed his father and kind of destroyed his kingdom. So 4 points for personality. And lastly, for threat level. He is very powerful and dangerous. Sure, he can grant people wishes, but he twists all but the last wish to suit his own will. He tries to recreate his home as floating islands above Ninjago, and he also trapped all the ninja in the Jin Blade and then turned Nia into his dead wife and then inadvertently got her killed. So he's clearly not the best at relationships. I'm going to have to give him a 5 out of 5 scale on the threat level because he almost successfully took over Ninjago and trapped a lot of people in the Jin Blade, so a pretty huge menace, bringing his total to 13 points. The next villain I want to discuss is the Mechanic. The Mechanic has always been a pretty strange Ninjago villain, mainly because he has never had a whole season to himself. He's always the secondary antagonist of the seasons he's in, and sometimes he barely even qualifies as that. Also, he doesn't even sound like a Ninjago villain with that name. He sounds like a LEGO City figure. Are we to believe that the ninja are now fighting everyday Joes who are just trying to go about their jobs? Who will the ninja fight next? The fireman? The train driver? The receptionist? In all seriousness though, I think the Mechanic is a cool enough villain. He sports a classic bowler hat piece with this Overlord looking robot eye on it that was sadly not physically moulded on. Like, was it really that difficult to throw in one new piece in this 6,000 piece set? Though, apart from that one minor, but in my opinion justified, grievance, I think he does look pretty cool with his red suit and little catfish whiskers. But whilst he's cool, he's no certain purple cannibal snake guy, so he only gets 3 points for appearance. As for personality, he's just kind of a jerk. I wouldn't say he's an absolute nutjob like Chen or a revenge-driven villain like Harumi. He's kind of just a slight annoyance who provides his rear end for the ninja to kick every once in a while, so he only gets a 2 on the personality chart. And lastly, as for threat level, like I said, he's never the main villain of a season, he's always just showing up in the background from time to time, like in seasons 6, 8, 11, 12 and 16. And he really is usually little more than a mild annoyance for our heroes. I think he was at his most dangerous when he tried to take apart Zane in his initial appearance in season 6, so I'm only giving him 2 points in that department, so he gets a total of 7 points, which is pretty low. Next, we have a fan favourite character, Morrow from season 5. Now, if you've ever seen Kung Fu Panda or the Star Wars prequels, then you pretty much know what Morrow's tragic backstory is. He was the golden child, the chosen one, destined to be the coolest cat in town, before he slowly went to the dark side and turned upon his mentor. Only for him to then come back in the present day and become a huge pain in the rear end for our protagonists. Morrow's primary driving factor for his animosity towards the ninja is jealousy, and also a desire to unleash his leader from the cursed realm. And hey, I didn't know they put your mother in Ninjago. Sorry, that joke was a little mean. But returning to the subject at hand, Morrow is one of only a handful of Ninjago villains to have a full redemption arc, finally coming around to help out the ninja in Day of the Departed, and then dying a second time shortly after. So Morrow gets 4 points of personality. And we can't forget that he's a ghost, so I probably should have put a scary warning at the start of this video in case any of you are extra frightened by ghouls. Jokes aside though, his design is really very cool. I just wish they had included some green printing on his physical hairpiece like in the show. So 4 points for appearance. And he's a pretty formidable foe for the ninja, because as mentioned, he unleashed your mum upon Ninjago and also possessed Lloyd's body and used it like some kind of alien meat puppet. I think he definitely gets a 5 for threat level, just due to the fact that if not for Nia, Ninjago would have been turned into some kind of Halloween hell full of ghosts, bringing his total to 13, tying with Nadakhan. Next is a slightly, shall I say, less awesome Ninjago villain, at least in my heavily early Ninjago biased opinion. We have the Omega from Season 10, which is a cool name, but it sounds like the kind of thing that would be on a 9-year-old's Xbox gamer tag in 2014. The main problem with the Super Saiyan Omega Giga Chad Destroyer of Worlds here is that he really doesn't get that much character development or time on screen. He just kind of shows up and says, hey, I'm pure evil and I'm going to take over the world with darkness, petrifies a few people and then dies, I guess, when the ninja do the tornado of creation. Talk about anticlimactic. I get that he's an Oni, so he's just meant to be pure evil, this super edgy bad guy, but we literally already had that with the Overlord and Garmadon, so I don't think we were in desperate need of a third all-black super evil villain. And I may cop some hate for this, but I'm giving the Omega only 1 point for personality, because Garmadon and the Overlord just did it a lot better. For threat level, I am obliged to give him a 5 just because he is actually a world-ending threat, and for design, he infamously only appears in the 1 Season 10 set, Oni Blister Pack. And he looks cool, but like I said before, Garmadon the Overlord really did just do it better. He's got like garlic around his neck or something to ward off vampires, I'm not really sure, and he has a cool face print, but sadly no leg printing. Like, what the actual heck, LEGO? No leg printing on a blister pack figure?
That's disgusting.
The Omega is only getting 2 points, bringing his total to 8. If he was in a longer season and had a bit more character development and had a better figure, maybe he would have scored higher, but as it is, the Omega is more like the O-mediocre. Next, we have the Overlord, the original Ninjago character who is made of pure evil and has a name that starts with the and O, although not the first character to have completely black skin. The Overlord, whose real name is actually Michael, or Dominic or something, I don't really know, I just made that up, is the antagonist of Seasons 2, 3 and 16. Now this guy, and I'm using the word guy very lightly here, floating pink fart is more accurate, is the Palpatine to Garmadon's Darth Vader, the leader giving the commands in a raspy-throated voice, telling Garmadon to do it when fighting Lloyd. In Season 2 where he was introduced, he really does just play the master of puppets, the leader behind the veil, until right at the end when he transmogrifies into a cursed Garmadon dragon hybrid. He's pretty lame looking in his original form in Season 2, however he takes on a physical form in Season 3 that looks very, very cool. And then after that he takes on a form that looks like it would be very painful if you stepped on him, before taking on a very cool form again in Ninjago Crystallized, his final appearance so far. So he gets 5 points for appearance. But for personality, he only gets a 3 because he is mainly just pure evil, but without any added flavour in there, like Garmadon's internal struggle between light and dark. And finally, for threat level, he gets a 5 because he might just be one of Ninjago's most dangerous threats, bringing the Overlord's total to 13. It's crazy to me that there are 3 characters in Ninjago who are so similar thematically, but where the Omega kind of failed like a deflated balloon, the Overlord did it well, and Garmadon absolutely knocked it out of the park. Next, for a fairly recent character, Empress Beatrix from Ninjago Dragons Rising Season 1. Now, Beatrix was the tyrannical Empress of Imperium in the at the time previous season of the show. She has an outfit comprised of gold, gunmetal grey and black, all colours I very much like, as well as gold shoulder pads and an almost Karen haircut in white. I'll give her 4 points for design because I really like the colours on here, but a cape on the minifigure could have made her just a bit better. And for her personality, she is a lying, manipulative leader who doesn't really care about anyone but herself and will use anyone and everyone to get what she wants, like imprisoning and torturing dragons and even going as far as to kill her father and sister, making her now the 3rd Ninjago villain to kill at least one of their parents. And I'm talking about death a lot, but you have to remember that this is all in the TV show, which is aimed at kids. And let's talk about Beatrix's twin sister for a moment. Have a guess what her name is. Beatrix. Wow, they really gave it their best there. 10 points for creativity to their parents. Absolutely hit a slam dunk with that one. So yeah, Beatrix is definitely pretty cold and ruthless, so 4 points for threat level, because if enslaving dragons, manipulating and controlling a whole city and killing your family isn't threatening, then I don't know what is. And I'm going to give her 3 points of personality because she's not as good as other villains. She kind of just runs on jealousy and a desire for power, whereas I think another certain female villain with white hair had a bit more of a nuanced and detailed personality. So Beatrix's total is 11 points. Villain number 7 is the impressive sounding Skull Sorcerer from Ninjago Season 13, also known as King Vangelis. His Skull Sorcerer design is very cool, one of the best villains from the Ninjago Wildbrain era, being this flying ghost-like guy with a creepy green skull, so he gets 4 points for appearance. The only thing I think could have made the figure better was printing on the face like in the show. As for his personality though, I gotta be honest, he's just another bad guy who's simply bad because he can be. And I feel like his actual personality really just doesn't leave that much of an impression, so 2 points. I'm going to have to give Vangelis a 3 for threat level, because he enslaved 2 entire races and made them work in the mines of Shintaro for him. So yeah, slave owner was not on my Ninjago bucket list. He gets a total of 9 points. Next up we have a character from the first half of Ninjago Season 11, Asira the Serpentine Witch. Her main reason for being evil is her hatred for Wu, and to be honest, I don't blame her, that guy absolutely sucks now. And she desperately wants revenge against him for his betrayal against her many years before the series takes place. It is kind of annoying how she just constantly says the word revenge. Like seriously, she talks about revenge more than Dominic Toretto talks about family. But other than that, her motives make sense, and I think she's a fine Ninjago villain, so 3 points of personality. And for threat level, she's led an entire army of pyro snakes and also stole Kai's powers, not to mention locks the ninja in a lava-filled pyramid with a most certain intent to kill. Rampaged throughout Ninjago City with her fire snakes and also sent Zay into the Nether Realm, where he then committed genocide, so she did kind of cause heaps of trouble. So 4 points for threat level. And her design is really cool, and I think Sorcerer Serpentine is a very cool concept. Sadly, her physical minifigure is very lacking compared to the TV show. I really wish they had used the classic snake tail piece in particular, and if it was moulded in translucent orange, that really would have been the cherry on top. But as it is, I'm going to have to give her a 3, bringing her total to 10 points. And now the second last subject for today is actually a 2 for 1, Acronix and Crux from Season 7. I'll just get it out of the way first. I think these two are hands of time down Ninjago's most dangerous villains. They literally control time. Forget all about ending the world, Acronix and Crux can go back in time and stop it from even beginning. So I absolutely have to give them a 5 for threat level. Now time travel has been done before in Ninjago, mainly by Garmadon in Season 2, but in hindsight that episode really made no sense at all, and for a while the writers were too scared to touch time travel with a 10-foot pole. But of course, they brought it back in Season 7 with the Time Twins, though ultimately they did little more than make Wu a baby and change the ninjas' designs. Yes, I blame that on them. Speaking of designs, the Time Twins look incredibly awesome, especially when paired with the Time Blades, and I'm feeling generous today, so 5 points for appearance, though for personality things fizzle out a bit. Basically, Acronix is a young hot guy who likes the modern age, and Crux is a boomer who hates technology, and I really can't remember them doing much else, so only 2 points there, which still brings their total to a respectable 12. And finally we have Lord Raz. Now bear in mind that I have not seen Dragons Rising Season 2 Part 2. People keep telling me to just watch it on YouTube, but I'd rather wait until the official release. So all of my thoughts on Raz are based on his appearances in Dragons Rising Season 1 and the first half of Season 2. Now Raz is genuinely one of the best Ninjago villains in a long while. Probably the best villain in years actually. He's powerful, intimidating, threatening, and he just looks so cool. If you looked up the definition of cool in a dictionary, there would just be a picture of Lord Raz there. I'm giving him a 5 out of 5 for design, and did I mention that he was one of the first ever Ninjago figures to get arm printing, which really goes a long way here. All 3 of his outfits look absolutely phenomenal. And I'm giving him a 4 for personality because he's a very smart and capable leader, and he has some nice backstory as well. And finally, he's going to get 4 points for threat level, because he performs the Blood Moon ritual and banished Kai to that weird labyrinth place, and he absolutely destroys Aaron when he fights him in Season 2, bringing Lord Raz's total to 13. Okay, so putting all the villains into the tier list with the villains from the last video, we can see that there are no villains in the 1 to 5 point category, quite a lot in the 6 to 9 and 10 to 14 range, and still only 2 characters with a perfect 15 out of 15 score, predictably being Pythor and Garmadon. And to finish out the video, I will announce the winner of the last video in this series. I asked you to try and correctly guess my least favourite Ninjago villain who has no minifigure yet. And NJO Studs 1234 was the first to guess correctly. Despite having part of my name in his, Fenwick is my least favourite Ninjago villain, and actually one of my least favourite Ninjago characters, period. I absolutely hate this guy with a passion, so much so that he gets 0 points of personality. because he actually has no personality other than being a Class 8 loser. 0 points for threat level because this idiot couldn't even successfully lie to the ninja, and finally gets 0 points for design because seriously, what is his 500 BC looking haircut? So that means this clown goes right at the bottom in his own tier. And congratulations to everyone who correctly guessed Fenwick, and thank you all for the comments on that video. Huge thanks to everyone for watching. Let me know if and when you want to see a part 3, and click here to watch part 1 if you haven't already. That's been all for today, folks. Have a great day and see you next week.